What if the driver distance you lost over the years was never about your body at all, but about 3 inches of ball position you've been getting wrong every single round? I played with a guy at Papago Golf Course in Phoenix last month, 71 years old, bad hip, swings like he's stirring soup, and he put 3 drives past a 24-year-old scratch player with a launch monitor in his bag. Stick around, because tip number 12 is the one that fixed more senior swings for me than anything else on this list. A single setup change that adds 10 to 15 yards without 1 extra ounce of effort, about the distance from the green to a back bunker. I'm going to walk you through 17 changes built for the body you have now, not the one you had at 35, and every one of them happens before you ever start the club back. Let's get into it. Here's the mistake I see on almost every first tee, from the desert holes at Papago to the pine-lined fairways of Pinehurst number 2. A senior golfer sets the ball down low, almost hiding it, because decades of iron instruction taught him to hit down and through. That's correct for a 7-iron. It's the opposite of correct for a driver. With a driver, you want to catch the ball after the club head has bottomed out and started climbing again. What TrackMan's research calls the attack angle, and their published data across amateur swings, shows every degree added to that upward angle can add close to 2 to 3 yards of carry with 0 extra swing speed. To get that upward strike, you need the ball riding high, about 2/3 of it above the top edge of your driver at address, roughly the height of a stacked quarter and a nickel above the crown. Mark your tee with a Sharpie at that exact height, so you're not guessing under pressure on the first hole. Most guys still tee it too low even after hearing this, because it looks strange at first, almost like you'll scull it. You won't, but only if the rest of your setup lines up with it. Once the ball is teed high, it has to move forward in your stance, or none of it works. Play it in the middle like a mid-iron, and you're forcing a downward strike into a ball sitting up in the air, which is the exact recipe for that weak ballooning pop-up that dies at hurry. 50 yards, about the carry needed to clear the fairway bunkers on the 18th at Bethpage Black. Ball position should sit just inside your lead heel, and for most seniors with a slightly narrower, more stable stance now, that's about 4 to 5 inches inside the left foot, roughly the width of a smartphone laid flat on the ground. Titleist's fitting staff has measured that moving the ball just 2 inches forward, about the length of a golf tee, can shift attack angle by close to 3 degrees, which on a 95-mile-per-hour swing translates to roughly 7 extra yards of carry. The common mistake is setting your feet first, then placing the ball, when it should be the reverse. Set the ball off the lead heel first, then build your stance around it. Get this wrong, and even a perfectly high tee shot turns into a chunk or a weak slice. As we lose rotational speed in the hips and torso, the instinct is to widen the stance for more power, and that's backwards thinking that costs distance. A stance too wide restricts hip turn, and research on rotational biomechanics in aging golfers, including work presented at the World Scientific Congress of Golf, has found restricted hip rotation past a certain stance width lowers peak clubhead speed by shortening the arc rather than increasing it. For most seniors, driver stance width should sit right at shoulder width, measured from the outsides of your heels to the outsides of your shoulders, about the width of a standard doorway when you're standing in the middle of it. Go, stand in front of a mirror at home, check that your feet aren't flared out past your shoulder line, and you'll notice you can now turn your hips freely instead of feeling locked in concrete. The mistake is copying tour players who are 25 with flexible backs and spreading out like they're bracing for a football hit. Get the width right and your turn frees up instantly, but that turn only helps you if your spine is tilted correctly. Watch any long hitter in their 60s at a course like Bandon Dunes, where the wind off the Oregon coast punishes a flat level setup, and you'll notice their trail shoulder sits visibly lower than the lead shoulder before they ever move. That's spine tilt. And it's one of the easiest ways to add loft and swing an upward path without changing anything about your backswing. Because the ball sits higher and forward now, your spine needs to tilt away from the target by roughly 10 to 15 degrees, about the tilt of a car seat reclined 1 notch back from upright, which naturally shifts your swing bottom point behind the ball. Biomechanics research from golf scientist Dr. Sasho McKenzie, published through his work with Golf Digest and academic golf journals, has shown this tilt alone can add 2 to 4 degrees of launch angle without a single swing change. The easiest way to feel it at home is to stand in front of a mirror, driver in hand, and let your trail hand slide a few inches lower on the grip then your lead hand naturally sits, which pulls that shoulder down automatically. Most seniors set up dead level like they're hitting an iron, and that one habit alone caps their launch angle no matter how well they strike it. Most golfers, seniors especially, set up even at address 50-50 because that's what felt balanced for 40 years of iron shots. But for the driver, you want roughly 60% of your weight on your trail foot before you ever swing, a shift about the size of leaning your body 1 inch toward your back pocket. This preset weight shift means you don't have to manufacture it during the backswing, which is exactly the move that arthritic knees and stiff hips struggle to produce under time pressure. Research from Dr. Young-Hoo Kwan's biomechanics lab at Texas Woman's University, some of the most cited work in golf swing science, found that reduced hip mobility in older golfers significantly limits how much weight shift happens during the actual swing, meaning it has to start in the setup instead. Try this on the range. Set up and lift your lead foot an inch off the ground for a second before you address the ball. Wherever your body naturally balances, that's close to your 60-40 trail side loading. Skip this, and your body will try to shift weight back during the backswing, which eats up the split second of timing you need for a clean strike. Quick pause. Everything we just broke down about killing those repeat blow-up holes? It's all pulled straight from the golfer's Bible. 101 course-tested fixes to stop playing the same bad round every weekend. This edition packs all 101 fixes into a tight, no-filler read you can get through before your next tee time. Grab it today, and we're also sending over the second book, The Score Drop Roadmap, completely free. Golf season doesn't wait around for you to figure it out on your own, so get ahead of it now. Link in the description, QR code on screen. Stop repeating bad rounds and start owning good ones. Speed at the top doesn't come from speed at the start, it comes from sequence. And this is where a lot of senior golfers panic and rush, especially on a tight tree-lined hole like number 10 at Augusta National, where the fairway seems to shrink under pressure. When you feel like you've lost distance, the instinct is to snatch the club back fast to get moving. But that ruins the one thing tempo research keeps proving matters most. Studies on swing tempo, including work by biomechanics researcher Dr. Stephen Nesbitt published in sports engineering journals, measured tempo ratios across handicap levels and found a consistent 3-to-1 ratio, backswing 3 times longer than downswing, shows up in efficient swings regardless of age or clubhead speed. Count it out loud on the range. 1, 2, 3 going back, 1 coming down. Many seniors, without realizing it, speed that ratio up to something closer to 2-to-1 because they're compensating for lost flexibility, and it costs them both contact and distance. Slow your takeaway down to what feels almost too slow, like you're pulling the club through wet sand for the first foot, and let the transition do the accelerating. There's a difference between a straight arm and a stiff arm, and a lot of the senior golfers I've worked with confuse the two. A stiff locked lead arm restricts shoulder turn and shortens your swing arc, which is the opposite of what you need, as clubhead speed naturally declines with age. Fitting data from the Titleist Performance Institute on golfers over 60 shows average driver swing speed drops several miles per hour per decade after 50 due to reduced muscle fiber recruitment, which makes preserving swing width more important, not less. The fix is simple. Keep the lead arm long and extended, but with soft elbows, like holding a paper cup without crushing it. Practice this by swinging to the top and pausing, checking that there's no strain or shake in that lead arm, just relaxed extension. Many seniors overcorrect for lost speed by muscling the arm rigid, thinking control equals stiffness, and it backfires into a narrow, weak arc. A wide, relaxed arc at the top sets the stage for the release. Coming down from the top, a lot of golfers who are losing distance try to make up for it by throwing the club from the top with their arms and shoulders, what teachers call casting. It feels powerful in the moment and kills your speed on impact. Motion capture, research from Dr. Young-Hoo Kwan found that efficient downswings show the trail elbow dropping close to the rib cage, about 3 inches, roughly the width of a golf ball, and a half, before the hands release, creating what's called the slot. And skipping that step is a common speed leak in amateur swings over 50. To feel it, put a golf glove or head cover under your trail armpit at address and try to keep it from falling out until just after impact. If it drops too early, you'll feel your swing tighten and slow down, which tells you you're casting. This single change, dropping instead of throwing, can add real ball speed because you're finally storing energy in the shaft instead of releasing it too soon. Grip pressure is one of the most overlooked speed killers in senior golf, and it's completely invisible from the outside. When your hands squeeze too tight, tension travels up through the forearms and locks the wrists. And locked wrists are what cost you club head speed at impact, not lack of strength. Golf biomechanics researcher Dr. Rob Neal, who has consulted with PGA Tour players, has noted that excess grip tension can cost several miles per hour of club head speed by restricting wrist hinge and release timing. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is squeezing a stress ball as hard as possible, most amateurs grip the driver at a 7 or 8. You want a 3 or 4, light enough that someone could tug the club out of your hands with the effort it takes to pull open a screen door. Try this on the range. Grip the club, then consciously release tension in your fingers until you feel like you might drop it. Then tighten just slightly from there. That's your number. A lighter grip lets your wrists hinge and unhinge freely through impact, adding speed you didn't know you were leaving on the table. Age brings a natural tendency to round the shoulders and hunch over the ball, especially if you spend hours a day at a desk or in a truck. That hunched posture restricts the very turn you need for distance. Research into thoracic rotation and posture in older athletes, including studies referenced by physical therapy and sports medicine journals, has found rounded upper back posture can reduce shoulder turn capacity by close to 15 degrees compared to an upright spine. 15 degrees might not sound like much, but that's the difference between a full, powerful turn, the kind you need to clear the elevated tee box at Pebble Beach's par 3 7th, and a half turn that relies entirely on your arms. Stand at address, pull your chin up an inch off your chest, and feel your sternum point slightly out rather than down at the ball. A good check is to have someone take a photo of your address position from the side and compare it to how you stand normally. Most seniors are shocked at how much they've rounded forward without noticing. Fix the posture, and the turn comes back almost automatically. Watch slow motion swings of long hitters in their 60s and 70s, and you'll notice the trail foot stays flatter, longer than golfers half their age who spin off the ball early, something you can see on the firm, link-style turf at Pinehurst No. 2. Rolling onto the outside edge of the trail foot too soon during the downswing bleeds ground reaction force, and ground force is a measurable part of driver distance now, not just theory. Force plate research from biomechanist Dr. Sasho McKenzie, some of it presented through the World Scientific Congress of Golf, found efficient swings generate meaningful vertical ground force just before impact by pushing down and up through a stable trail foot. If that foot slides or rolls too early, that push is lost entirely. The fix is simple. At setup, feel like your trail heel is glued down until just after you strike the ball, then let it release naturally afterward. Practice slow motion swings where you freeze at impact and check your trail heel position in a mirror. Many seniors, worried about hip stiffness, compensate by spinning off that foot too early, and it costs them the ground force they still have available. This is the one I promised you at the start, and it's the single biggest fix I've made in dozens of lessons with players well past 60. A lot of golfers, trying to help the ball into the air, let their head drift forward toward the target during the downswing. That forward head movement moves your swing's low point forward too, turning your potential upward strike into a downward chop, undoing everything from tips 1 and 2. TrackMan's fitting data shows keeping the head, and more specifically the sternum, behind the ball at impact by even 2 to 3 inches, about the width of a golf ball, can increase attack angle by 3 to 4 degrees, which on average adds 10 to 15 yards of carry for players swinging in the 85 to 95 mile per hour range. Here's a drill. At setup, feel like your right ear is a few inches behind the ball, like trying to look at it from over your trail shoulder, and hold that position as long as possible into the downswing. Video yourself from face on, and check where your chin sits relative to the ball at impact. Most seniors' heads drift a good 4 to 6 inches forward, nearly the length of a tee, without ever feeling it happen. Lock this down, and you'll strike up on the ball consistently. Look, I'll be straight with you. What you just watched is only a fraction of what's inside the golfer's Bible. 101 course-tested fixes to stop playing the same bad round every weekend. It's packed with 101 real fixes tested on real courses, laid out in an easy-to-follow edition built for weekend golfers who want results, not theory. Order it now, and you'll also get the second book, the Score Drop Roadmap, free. Your swing isn't getting better by accident, and every round you wait is another round wasted. Link in the description, QR code on screen. Play smarter, score lower, repeat. A rushed transition is where a lot of senior golfers lose their sequencing entirely, opening the shoulders and chest toward the target before the lower body has done its job. A mistake that shows up especially on uphill approach holes, like the 18th at Whistling Straits, where players tend to lunge for extra yardage. When the upper body fires first, the arms get pulled across the ball too early, which steepens the attack angle right back down, undoing tip 12 completely. Motion capture research from biomechanist Dr. Phil Cheatham, who has studied senior amateur swings extensively, found efficient downswings show the hips leading the shoulders by a measurable window, often called the X-factor stretch, and that gap shrinks dramatically when transition gets rushed under tension. The fix on the range is a simple pause drill. Swing to the top, pause for 1 full second, then start the downswing by bumping your lead hip toward the target before your shoulders move at all. It'll feel unnaturally slow the first 10 times you try it. Many seniors, worried about losing power, do the opposite and yank the shoulders open immediately, which is exactly backwards. Sequence the hips first, and the shoulders and arms fall into place behind them naturally. Somewhere along the way, a lot of golfers got told that more loft is for beginners, and that idea is costing serious yardage. As swing speed naturally declines, you need more loft, not less, to optimize launch and spin for carry distance. Fitting data published by Ping's engineering team shows golfers swinging under 90 miles per hour who added 2 to 3 degrees of loft saw an average carry gain of roughly 8 to 12 yards. About the distance from a greenside bunker lip to the pin on a short par 3, purely from better launch conditions, no swing change required. If you're gaming a 9 or 9.5 degree driver from your 30s and your swing speed has dropped into the 80s, you're likely under-lofted now. Take your driver to any shop with a launch monitor, hit 10 balls, and check your launch angle. If it's under 13 degrees, you need more loft, plain and simple. The mistake is pride, sticking with a lower lofted head because it looks better at a dress or feels more like what a strong player would use. Adjust that hosel up a notch or two, and you'll often see the ball flight change on the very first swing. This might be the most common equipment mistake among golfers over 55, and it's purely a pride problem. A lot of guys are still swinging a stiff or extra stiff shaft they bought at 35, when their swing speed has since dropped from 100 plus down into the high 80s or low 90s. Fitting data from shaft manufacturer True Temper shows a mismatched shaft, too stiff for your speed, delays the shaft's natural kick point past impact, which reduces energy transfer and can cost 5 to 10 yards, roughly the gap between clearing a creek and finding the water. The number that matters is your actual driver swing speed, measured on a launch monitor, not what you think you swing or used to swing. Under 85 miles per hour typically calls for regular flex, 85 to 96 calls for stiff, and only above that should you be an extra stiff, according to most major shaft manufacturer charts. Go get measured. Even a free demo day at a golf store takes about 10 minutes with a monitor. The common mistake is refusing to downgrade to regular flex because it feels like admitting decline, when it's just matching your tool to your engine. Ball selection costs senior golfers distance more than almost any other piece of equipment, because most guys just buy whatever ball the pros use on TV. Tour ball compression is built for swing speeds well over 100 miles per hour, and if you're swinging in the 80s or low 90s, a high compression ball won't deform enough at impact to transfer full energy, according to fitting research published by Bridgestone's Golf Ball Testing Division. Their published testing shows golfers under 90 miles per hour gained an average of 6 to 9 yards of total distance, about the length of a large SUV, switching from a 90-plus compression tour ball down to a 60 to 70 compression ball built for moderate swing speeds. The fix is straightforward. Look at the ball's compression rating, usually listed on the box or the manufacturer's website, and if you're unsure of your swing speed, any big box store demo day will measure it in minutes. Many seniors are embarrassed to play what feels like a beginner ball, but compression has nothing to do with skill. It's physics matching your speed. Switch and you'll often feel the difference off the face immediately. Softer, springier, longer. Here's a detail almost nobody thinks about, and it reintroduces every problem we already fixed. Worn, slick grips force your hands to squeeze harder just to keep control of the club. And we already covered in Tip 9 how added grip tension can cost real club head speed. Golf Pride, one of the largest grip manufacturers in the world, recommends replacing grips every 40 rounds or twice a year for regular players, because rubber compounds harden and lose tackiness through UV exposure, and hand oils well before they look visibly worn. Run your thumbnail across your current grip. If it feels shiny or slick rather than slightly tacky, it's already past its useful life. A fresh grip costs somewhere between $8 and $15 installed at most shops, about the price of a sleeve of premium golf balls, and it's one of the cheapest distance fixes in the entire game. The mistake almost everyone makes is judging grips by how they look instead of how they feel, and a grip can look fine while performing terribly. Fresh grips let your hands stay soft and relaxed the way Tip 9 needs them to, protecting every other adjustment you've made today. So, here's the truth sitting underneath all 17 of these. Whether you play a municipal track like Papago or a bucket list course like Pebble Beach, nobody out there loses 30 or 40 yards of driver distance purely because they got older. Most of it was hiding in inches, degrees, and ounces of pressure in a tee height, a ball position, a shaft flex, a grip you never replaced. Fix the setup and the swing you already have starts producing numbers it hasn't produced in years. The real question isn't whether you have the swing speed left. It's whether you've been building on a foundation that was working against you the whole time. Go check your loft, your ball, your grip pressure this week, because the youngest thing on the golf course this weekend might not be a player at all. It might just be your setup.